Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Hello, and welcome back to the Love Pod, everyone. My name is Julia, and today our guest has already had the pleasure of sitting down and having a conversation with Nathaniel. And today she has returned to sit down with myself. So I'm so pleased to invite all the way from Jersey City, Jacquie Bird, a multifaceted wellness guide whose life journey spans Broadway performances, global choreography, sound healing, meditation, music, mindfulness teaching, and handcrafted wellness creations. Jacquie is also the author of 28 Daily Thoughts and Mantras for Mindfulness and the creator of Stress Busters Guided Meditation and the heart behind the handmade wellness brand, Model Visions. She also shares her gift through Sound Soul Vibin and blending sound, breath, and energetic presence to bring people back into their power and inner calm. And her mission is so simple yet profound. It's to help people reduce stress, increase awareness, and remember the superpower that they already carry, the thoughts that they think. So, Jacquie, I'm so grateful to have you here for round two. And I can't wait to explore, the depth of your work and learn more about your story and your journey. So, with all that to say, welcome to the Love Pod.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. Definitely. I'm
We're
looking
so
forward.
glad to have you back. So I would love to start off, for those who haven't listened to the previous episode, with Nathaniel and who perhaps are hearing you for the first time, how would you describe what you do and, what you feel called to offer to the world?
Hmm. I describe it as, I mean, your intro was pretty on point. I think, especially as I don't use the word age, as I've seasoned,
Love
I
that.
have found, it just seems like life is a lot simpler than we make it be. And I am about simplifying, about helping people find the simpler way of being and connecting more to themselves as they're running around and going about their busy lives. But to remember that undercurrent of self that is actually powering everything. I think that's definitely what I'm called to help people realize. And I was talking the other day about quality of life. You know, when you're younger, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, it's about finding a partner, the career, the making money, getting your name out there, and these pursuits, and you're not necessarily thinking about peace of mind, quality of life, other than the things that are tangible, the house, the car, that's a lot of times where your focus is. But as you become more seasoned in terms of the amount of time that you're on the planet, you begin to realize that there's a lot more. And even when you're younger, that unease that you have, that question of who am I? Why am I? That question that permeates through all of the noise. There's a simpler way to find that. And that's, as I said, I try to help people define what that is for themselves. And I use sound, guided meditation, journaling, movement, ways to basically connect to yourself outside of your identity of who you are.
I love that. And, that can look so unique for each individual. And I just want to say, by the way, I'm going to start using the word seasoned because I always hated say, like when I talk about my daughter and saying she's 2 years old, like she's not old at all. So I usually
Mm.
reverse it and say she's 2 years young. Even myself,
Yeah.
I'm 32 years young. Like we really need to be conscious of the words we're speaking. So I absolutely
Hmm.
love that seasoned. And
Yes.
there's always a season for life, of what we're going through. And, it's really interesting because, like you said, a lot of us don't grow up thinking those deeper questions and those meaningful questions in life. And it's not our fault. I mean, I really think it's
Right.
the cultures and societies where we grow up in that,
Hmm.
kind of puts it on us that, hey, you should start thinking at a young age about your career and buying a
Right.
home. And there's this list of order of the way things should be done, right? And when
Hmm.
you're not following that, it's like people look at you like, hey, like, why haven't you started thinking about that? Like,
Yeah.
is something wrong with you? When really there's not. I think it's fantastic what you're doing. And I would love to ask you, like, for you, what does simplicity mean? And have you always lived a simple life, or was there a turning point in your life that got you thinking about these deeper questions for yourself?
Um, okay. To me, simplicity is sitting by the water and watching the birds. Watching the birds, watching the sky, watching the clouds, looking at faces in the clouds, feeling the breeze, smelling the water. To me, that's simplicity. And you don't necessarily have to be in that physical space, but to tap into the senses of what that is. And that can be just sitting at the edge of your bed when you get up in the morning. And instead of jumping up, just taking a moment to sit on the edge of your bed, take inventory. Okay, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? That's to me is simplicity. Just slowing your roll. Oh God, there were many turning points in terms of how I think now. There's nothing like having a nervous breakdown that'll kind of make you go, oh, wow, So I had one of those. I had one of those when I hit 30. Um, and it was it felt like a long, arduous road to just begin to feel, begin to feel like I belonged here, that I wanted to be here, that I wasn't a failure. Um, yeah. So that was one of the mm, first times. As I said, there've been quite a few transitions, roadblocks that have I've always asked deep questions. That's always been from the time I was a child. But I think that each impasse or chasm that I fell into, I asked more questions, more deeper questions. I did a lot of reading, probably around the time, yeah, after the nervous breakdown, when I started to come out of it. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of metaphysical books, and which pushed me to asking more questions. And I spent as you said in your intro, I spent a good part of my life as a performer. I was chasing the dream. And a lot of times those dreams get defined by others, and you don't realize that you've taken other people's opinions and made them your own, and made them your own outlook, and that's what you end up chasing. And you realize, hopefully, sometimes that had nothing to do with you. Those dreams and things that people said you should do had nothing to do with you, had nothing to do with your path, nothing to do with your passion, your wants, any of that. And it wasn't until I hit another wall, um I guess it was 2000. Yeah, I had become very frustrated in my career. I was trying to fit into, I was trying to be a circle fitting into a square.
Mm.
And I just was extraordinarily depressed, extraordinarily unhappy. Um, it's sometimes, when you feel that you've hit rock bottom, that's really the time of awakening and rebirth. And so it was a while of just going, I hurt. I'm not happy. I had no answers, but I knew it needed to be something else. I just didn't know what it was. And then I spent probably about a decade traveling. I did a lot of guest teaching. Um, so I got to go to India and Japan several times, and
Guest
Dominican
guest
Republic.
teaching.
Yeah, I was guest teaching. I was teaching dance, and
Okay.
I was getting a lot of offers. So I was traveling and meeting people and learning about different cultures, and that was fabulous. And then we had the crash, the the economic crash in 2008, and everything just went just came to a crashing halt. And in that time, I had a knitting business, I had a greeting card business because I was trying to figure out who I was without the career. Who was I really?
Mm.
And as I was doing that, it felt like I was getting no closer. And then one day I realized it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're creative, as long as you're creating. That's really what your passion is, creating. And that was the light bulb. It was like, it's really that simple. It's not complex. It's not, oh, you need to do this and then you need to do that. And so that I think was another big turning point for me is that it was not as complicated as I thought it needed to be. It really was as simple as you just need to create. That is really all. And in that simplicity is fulfillment and fullness and
Mm.
satisfaction. And I went, yeah, yeah, I like that.
Love the energy.
So that was a turning point of many, you know. I don't think you have just one. I think you have many. They may be huge, they may be small, but there are a lot of aha moments. And
I was
so
thinking the same thing.
yeah, yeah, you have a lot. But that one was basically what set me on what I'm doing now. And it's funny how, and I was talking about this with somebody just yesterday, how your past you plants seeds for your future you. And one of the biggest examples I can give about that is when I was in India, I was walking down the street and bam, I get a download. Get a Tibetan singing bowl. And I'm like, huh? A Tibetan singing bowl? Okay, okay. Yeah, sounds good. I'll get Tibetan singing bowl. You know? So I get two of the teachers I was teaching took me to a place to get a Tibetan singing bowl. And we're looking at all these bowls, and I don't know what I'm looking for. I know nothing about them. And I'm playing a bunch of them and I don't like anything. And then one of the people that was accompanied me said, "Here, try this one." And that's the bowl I ended up buying. And I was in India for 6 weeks. So I was it was an interesting trip at an interesting point in my life. But I was having a lot of problems with my feet because the at the time India was just opening to the West. YouTube was just starting to kind of connect people around the world. So they were getting into what we were doing here in the West as far as dance goes. So they didn't have a lot of what you should have for dance, you know, like a wooden floor, things that I was accustomed to. So I was dancing on linoleum. I was teaching on linoleum. I had bought shoes that were too small. So one night, my feet just went, we don't like you very much right now. And we're going to let you know how much we don't like you. So at 3 in the morning, I'm awakened by throbbing feet. And I had this bowl, and I understood enough to know that the makers created these bowls for healing and also for meditation. So I just started trying to prop the bowl up. Imagine trying to prop a bowl up on your feet and play it. And so this is what I'm doing at 3 in the morning. I'm trying to play this bowl on my feet. And I managed to get it going. And I'm realizing that the pain has begun to subside. And I was so excited about that. And I started to talk to the teachers that I was teaching at the time about it. And they're looking at me like, oh, it's just a dirty bowl. It's just a bowl. Oh, it has no value. It's just a bowl. And I'm going, no, you don't understand this gift that your culture has provided. And the the medicine that's in these things. So I'm telling them about their culture and what how valuable the bowls are. And then we fast forward, guess about 8 years, maybe 6 years, something like that. And I'm in the middle of another turning point, a big financial problem, and I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out, and I'm being threatened, and oh, we can take this from you, and we can take that, and I'm just panicking, and my partner looks at me hey, and he's like, you gotta calm down, because I'm like driving him crazy, and I'm driving myself crazy. And so one day I pick up the bowl. Past me planted the seed for future me. And I start to play the bowl, and I start to lose myself, meaning losing the part of the worry and moving into the bigger, gigantic space of my being
Mm.
from playing this bowl. And just the hypnotic motion of your hand going around the bowl and feeling the vibration of the bowl in my arm that's moving through my body. And I was on a new path, or I was on a path that I had been coming toward. I got on it, and the realization of, oh my, this is medicine here. And that's what's great about living, is if you're paying attention, you can find stuff that puts you where you need to be, puts you where you want to be. And it's not that difficult. It's not like going and picking up a hoe and digging up dirt. Spiritually, that's what it feels like in some ways, because you are excavating aspects of yourself to get to the juicy part. And again, there's a lot of simplicity in sound.
Wow, let's just take a moment to soak all that in. You said so much there, and you have a gift for storytelling in your words, I can see. And yeah, I mean, it's only difficult, I believe, when we don't listen, when we don't listen to
Mm,
the signs, you know. We are all such creative, powerful beings, and we came here to create. So I love
yeah.
that you had that aha, and it really can be that simple. And
Mhm.
you know, it's yeah, like I believe that we are always, where we're meant to be, and we're always putting these direct experiences in our lives, whether we're conscious of it or not, to get us
Mhm.
to where we want to go. I
Yes.
believe we came here with a goal or a mission or some sort of area that we wish to grow in,
Mhm.
and we're constantly putting ourselves back on track. So even if there's
Yeah.
something that causes us suffering in life or a quote unquote bad experience, it's for our growth, it's for our own
Mhm.
good, and for us
Mhm.
to wake up. Like I believe we
Yeah.
all came here forgetting, but also to remember. And there was at one
Yeah.
point when you were speaking that I thought about a quote that Alan Watts once said, and that was, the only reason that we don't remember our sole purpose is because we forgot who we are. So that simple
Mhm.
question of asking, like, who are we?
Yeah.
And the true answer is we can be whoever we wish to be. Like that's the
Yes.
exciting thing about being creative, beings, is that we get to recreate ourselves anew in every moment. And that reminds
Mhm.
me of, what Neil Donald Walsh talks about. Like each moment is about recreating anew. And that's really
Mhm.
exciting, an awakening and remembering who we are and why we came here is an exciting journey. So
Yeah.
we came here to play, we came here to enjoy, and also to
Mhm.
be with all the moments of life in all its
Mhm.
glory. And, that doesn't mean we have to suffer. Even if we're going
Right.
through what we would label as a bad experience, we can enjoy that by just being with all of it and not
Mhm.
rejecting parts of us that are just trying to feel the experience. I feel like so many people go through these dark nights of the soul and don't know how to get to the other side, but really that's the portal. When we go through all
Mhm.
of it and just be with all of it and
Yes.
just allow, whatever's
Right.
coming up in every moment to just be as it is and not try to change or control anything, then we can find the
Hmm.
gift on the other side. And it's so freeing,
It
to be
is.
able to go through those moments. And then you have so much compassion and gratitude, for what you've been through and where you're going. It's exciting because then you realize, oh, I can be the driver in this seat called life, and I can
That's
choose
right.
which way I get to point the wheel. Like
Yes.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I just imagine like what a world would look like had we grown up really chasing our own authentic dreams and knowing from a young age that these dreams don't need to be torn out of us and that we can actually go after our dreams. And it's not silly, it's not pathetic,
Right.
Similar
Right.
to you, I actually followed a passion of mine, so I thought at the time, which was salsa dancing. And I started in the country where I am now, but it soon, like shortly after I started back in 2014 or 15, I started. But in 2016, it led me to move to Italy, actually to Milan, to one of the
Oh.
most professional, Latin academies for salsa dancing and Latin American
Oh, how
dancing. And
cool.
yeah, it was so much fun at the time. But you know
Wow.
what, Jackie? I probably learned more just going out social dancing with folks rather than, having the lessons. But what's so ironic about it is I came to a point where I was nervous to just be on the floor and not move to a step that I had learned. It's like it was either
Ah,
right or wrong, especially in competition. It's like they're
yeah.
judging you how you're moving, the step, is it on the right count? And
Yeah.
so I came to a point where I didn't know how to just move as me. Like I didn't
Hmm.
know when there was like these free solo parts that you can just be freestyling. I didn't know
Hmm.
how to move and unless it was choreographed. And I'm like, this doesn't feel
Wow.
like authentic anymore. It was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
But then I had moments and aha moments later down the road where I realized like it doesn't matter how I move, it's about how it feels.
Hmm.
If I'm
Hmm.
connecting to the music, I'm intentionally connecting to my body, my breath, and I'm just allowing myself to express however I feel in the moment. That's the medicine.
That's the
There's not one right
joy.
way or wrong way. It doesn't matter what people are thinking when they're watching me. It's about how it makes us feel. And so
Absolutely.
I really love what you shared also at the beginning when you were sharing, what simplicity meant to you. And I love that because, it's really connecting and tuning in with your body in every moment, regardless what you're doing. It could be the most
Hmm.
boring thing in the world or the most exciting thing in the world, but it's about how you're feeling. And I feel like so often we are disconnected from our bodies that we forget to just
Hmm.
have that simple check-in,
Yeah.
or we're conditioned to think that we always need to be doing, chasing, chasing.
Yes.
And then we forget to just be. And that's why
Yes.
we came here. We are
Yeah.
human beings, not human doings.
I like that.
But it's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah. It's what you said in terms of we feel like we have to be doing something all the time. And the idea of being, I think a lot of people don't really know what that is, what that feels like. And in my work, I try to connect people to what that is actually. And I find that sound, if you allow yourself to really let it permeate you, it will help you be able to just be. Because again, we are a society of people of doers, and that is what is preached. You rarely, unless you get into the idea of meditation or some type of body work or some kind of self-care, you don't really understand the idea of being. And again, because it sounds too simple. What is that? I'm not satisfying any quotas. I'm not making any deadlines. I'm not, this society is so protocol based, and sometimes I find myself just like, I don't want to hear it. It's all about productivity, and with the rise of AI and the people's fears about that, that is what we're hearing so much about. So if you're not doing any of that, people feel like they're missing out, or they're not fulfilling themselves or fulfilling their purpose. And so the idea of just being is like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be. What is that? That don't put food on my plate. But the funny thing about it is it does put food on your plate because you're in a better position to hear solutions, to hear intuition that will guide you to where you want to go faster than this will. But because we put our emphasis on the mind and less emphasis on the feel and the heart, that is how we get distracted and disconnected from source, from self, which is source, that we can't conceptualize. A lot of people have a hard time conceptualizing being, and that's
Mm.
part of the problem. You don't have to conceptualize, you just have to be it. And that's hard for folk because it just doesn't, again, it sounds too simplistic. But when you do something like you're with a small child, be it yours or someone else's, and you are observing them, that's being. You are feeling the joy of this child in their adventure and in their exploration when they're discovering something for the first time, and you're observing that with no judgment, no anything. You're just observing. That's being.
Mm.
It's not a hard thing. It's just something that you have to practice. You have to want to be until you don't have to think about it or
Yeah.
plan ways to be. You just are. And the best
Exciting.
way, taking like, my favorite example is watching small children and just how they are not judging. They're not saying you threw that ball wrong. It should have been more, 50 degrees to the north. They're not doing any of that. They're just playing
I
and
know.
screaming, and it's such freedom and abandon. And if you can tap into that, you used to do that, used to be like that, that's going to get you closer to the state of being. And then the other way is the breath, just taking conscious breaths, stopping whatever it is that you're doing and just taking a conscious in breath, followed by a slower and conscious out breath. You have taken a moment to be. So it's very tangible. There are things that you can do that can help you practice just being present. Actually, if you're washing dishes, wash the dish.
Mm.
And that's so Buddhist, you know, but it's just wash the dish. Don't wash the dish to clean it. Don't wash the dish to get to the next one. Wash the dish because the dish is in your hand and you are washing the dish.
That
And
reminds me of Eckhart Tolle because he talks about that in The Power of Now.
one of my favorite books.
Me too.
One of my favorite books, but just wash the dish. And people would go, "Oh, duh, that's dumb." No, it's an arena, it's an avenue into tapping what being feels like for you.
Yeah, I love all that, and especially how you spoke about, simply being with children, and
Mm,
it's been such a great opportunity for awakening as new parents. And even just like
mhm.
when a newborn is in the room, they're the smallest being, but yet they take up the most space because they just are. And you
Yes.
can just be with them and just see that they're pure light, and it's so beautiful to witness. And it
Hmm.
and we notice it because we recognize it in ourselves. That's the only way we
Right.
can be aware of it, because we are it too. We're
That's
just a
right.
different version of it because we've been on this earth realm for a little longer, and we've dimmed our light perhaps just a touch, but we can
Hmm.
always go back there. It's just a matter of choice,
Yeah. And
and I
they're here to tell us. They're here to remind us. They're here to teach
exactly,
us. The
exactly.
babies, the infants, the toddlers, children that are still connected to their higher selves consciously. They're here to tell us, hey, slow down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love how you spoke about the heart too, because as
Yeah, yeah,
as I
yeah.
as I hear my little
The
one screaming down
love
the stairs.
pod.
Yes, well, light heart vision too. Like the love technically stands for LHV, light heart vision, and we came up with that name because light is what everything is made of. It's who we are. And then heart is what we want to get back to, right? We want to live life with an open heart because that's when we are most authentic with who we
Mhm.
are. It's not coming from here, all of our answers and choices. It's coming from here with what is true to us in each moment. And then vision is having this, higher idea for how what we're striving for. It's really
Mhm.
important to have in heart what we want to create because
Yeah.
then we have a canvas and then we get to create, right? And that doesn't mean that it can't be adapted and adjusted along the way. It always will be. But yeah,
Mhm.
I really love everything that you've touched upon. I think a lot of the time perhaps people have resistance to meditating or simply being is just because it's been so long that they've been living that way, and so it feels a little
Mhm.
bit scary. I remember the first time that I really got into meditation. It actually wasn't so much by my own choice, but my partner at the time, we were traveling in Thailand in Southeast Asia, and he was really keen on trying out a Vipassana, a silent meditation retreat.
Mhm.
And so I kind of just went alongside him and we did it. But after the third day, I was like ready to leave and escape. I'm like, what am I doing here? A third day of not talking. I mean, I probably whispered a little bit every day, but just like 7 hours a day, 7 to 8 hours of just meditating and being with myself. I wanted to escape,
Understood.
and I get why a lot of people probably have the same feelings because to be with your mind and actually take a breath and sit down and listen to everything that's going on up there can feel overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
totally get it. And so that's why I'm no meditation guide, but I do like to remind people that you don't need to change anything. There's
Mhm.
nothing that you need to judge or change or try to fix. It's really just notice and being with what's going on up
Mhm.
there. Maybe you would have better advice, but yeah, what would you tell to someone who's interested in trying to meditation or has tried it perhaps and said, I can't, like I just can't. Yeah.
I've met people that I've heard that. I've met people that I just can't meditate. Part of why you can't meditate is because you have an ideal on what meditation is. And there are so many different forms of meditation, and everybody's saying, I have the way to meditate. But actually, in my opinion, meditation is just being. Meditation is being present. As I use the example of washing the dish, that's meditating. When you are um, not so much not thinking, because that's also a misnomer in a sense. If you sit down, okay, you sit down to meditate and your thoughts are just bombarding you. They're just going through your mind and you are feeling that you're failing. Understand that that's what your mind does. Anyway, whether you're sitting still trying to meditate or whether you are sitting at your desk, that is, as the Buddhists say, the monkey mind. Your mind is jumping from thought to thought to thought to thought. When you sit to meditate, you are actually now aware that that's what's taking place. So that's not a failure, that's a win, especially if you understand that, oh, I do this all the time. My mind is jumping through hoops all the time. Maybe that's why I have headaches. Use that experience of sitting to meditate and hearing all these thoughts going through your mind. Use that as a way to become more conscious of what's actually filtering through your mind. So again, you didn't fail. I say before you sit down to try to meditate, and that word we have to expunge from our vocabulary, that word try. Just pick something that you do, a mundane activity that you do, and begin to actually be present for whatever that is that you're doing. So if you're walking down the street to the train or to your car, just do that. Don't think about, okay, when I get to the office, I have to do this, and then I have to pick up Sally at 3 o'clock, and then after that, I have to do, or as they do where I am, everybody's on their phone, walking down the street on their phone. Everybody is walking with their phone. And so if
Mm.
you are a person that does that, put the phone in your pocket. Put it, better yet, in a bag so it's not on your person. And just walk down the street. And as you walk down the street, actually notice things. Actually notice the sky. Look up at the sky and see the color blue or the shades of blue. And as I that example I used earlier, look at the clouds. Do you see faces in the clouds? Oh, hear the birds, listen to the birds. So this is actually meditating. This is a
Mm.
walking meditation. This is walking on the concrete if you live in the concrete jungle, like I do, and actually be aware of your foot connecting to the ground, connecting to Gaia, even though she's covered up, but you're still walking on Gaia. Connect to that. Listen to your breath. Are you laboring your breathing? Is your breath short? Um, feel the swing of your arms. Feel the gait. That's meditation.
Mm.
It's not sitting down with your legs in a pretzel going home. Meditation is being present. So it's simple. Yeah, that word simple again. It's much simpler than we make it to be. And when you do sit down in your desire to meditate in that fashion, focus on the breath. Don't even worry about counting. Don't worry about length. Just sit in your body. Make sure you're comfortable. If you only have a few moments, that's okay. You don't have to. Some people set their alarm clocks. It's up to you. However, I find that to be a little jarring. If I'm in a space and then my alarm goes off, unless you have like beautiful chimes for an alarm. And however long you sit is however long you sit or lay down. Some people are like, well, I can't meditate, always fall asleep. Well, you needed to fall asleep.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
it's do it without judgment because
Yes.
each time you sit, if that's what you're choosing to do, there will be more, more quiet, even if it's 2 seconds, more quiet. Stop taking score. And again, focus on the breath, just the regular breathing, just how it goes in and goes out. And actually see if you can begin to relax your body. So as you're focusing on just the breath through and out the nose. There are many breath work techniques, but I suggest to start very simple. That word again, the word for today is simple. Just, just very simply sit with yourself. See if you can actually hear and feel the sensation of the breath moving in and out of your body, which we take for granted. And as you do that, you may actually begin to relax. Your shoulders may begin to relax. Your face may begin to relax. The grip on your legs may actually relax. And begin to take notice what's actually happening to you as you sit. And again, you're thinking, but you're not allowing just the random thoughts that we entertain for our whole day and night if you can't sleep. You are actually directing thought. And as
Mhm.
you direct thought and you practice directing thought in the seated meditation, you will connect more to direct conscious thought in your day. And it won't be this deluge of stuff on your to-do list or scrolling rapidly on your phone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, I love that. What a beautiful beginner's 101 to how to meditate. And it's so true. It's not what we think it is. It absolutely is just being present in every moment. And I feel like a lot of us forgot, the gift of presence because we're not
Mhm.
we're not truly living in our bodies. We're not living
Yeah.
embodied experiences. So it's really just dropping back in. And it's really coming back into alignment and being aware of what's happening
Hmm.
within us and around us. And I love to think of it as listening to, being connected to the breath, but also listening to what's going on within the body and noticing that, whatever is going on, it's okay.
Yeah.
You may drop in and you may notice, hey, like I feel a little bit of discomfort in my left shoulder. And then you might start to
Hmm.
focus on that. But if you just
Hmm.
notice and then step away of that thought and just notice it and allow it to drift like a cloud, you'll notice a
Hmm.
lot of things going on. And like you said in the beginning, you may have all these clouds passing by, but then the more that you do it with intention and just be with it, you'll notice that the clouds will just come and they will go as easily as they come. And then
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you create more space. You create
And
more
it's also about intention. People say I should meditate. I know I should meditate because when you read articles and they're talking about how to reduce stress, meditation is mainly mentioned. So you have this uh, perception of I should be doing this. But again, that's another word that needs to be expunged from your vocabulary. Try and should.
Mhm.
But you have that mentality. I should be meditating because I understand it's good for me, so I should do it. Well, you're not going to have any success with that mentality.
Right?
If it is your intention to benefit from the benefits of meditation and you approach it from that point of view, not I should be doing this, but I want to gain control over my thoughts. I want to be able to relax my body. I want to learn how to take a moment before I curse somebody out. I want to, all of the the reactionary aspects of us because we're reactioners. We react. We don't
All
necessarily, right? We're all right. We don't necessarily take a moment to go, okay, that person just insulted me. All right, I have a choice. I can either insult them back or I can ask them why they did that, or I could walk away, or you begin to see you have multiple choice as opposed to just one choice. And you can go down the list in that brief moment and pick one as
Mhm.
opposed to just reacting. And that's also one of the benefits of a meditation practice. But the thing with a meditation practice is you have to take it off the mat. I know folks like when I was going to take yoga, I was like a fiend. I was going to yoga 6 days a week. I had found the school that I loved. I think there were like four teachers. I loved their classes. And I was going like a beast to these yoga classes. But the thing that I noticed that was a little disheartening was that if you weren't in the clique of the folks that took the class, you were locked out of the sense of community. And that's how I was feeling. I would get there, I would get my spot, I roll my mat out. I was usually the first one. And then people would come in and I would say hello. And a lot of times people wouldn't even speak. And so we do these things that we're told are good for us, but we don't actually deep dive into them. So you take a yoga class, you sweat, and you've got your yoga on, but then immediately you forgot everything you did on the mat because you didn't connect it to your everyday life. It's just, I'm going to yoga and I'm really good because I have my yoga mat and I go to yoga, but it's yoga on, yoga off, on the mat, off the mat. Same thing with meditation, on the cot, off the cot. You have to take these things with you. They are not one and done. You don't check that off. What you do in meditation, learning to slow the thoughts, learning to be mindful, connecting to the body, connecting to the breath, that has to accompany you in your day. Otherwise, it's
Absolutely.
just a moment that you did that,
Yeah.
but it's disconnected from the rest of your day. And the purpose of meditation is to grow,
Hmm.
is to recognize who you are, how you are, and to make tweaks along the way that you may want, and to put a check mark on I did that and I was good, to recognize your triumphs. It's all of that. It's the whole collective. And so it's not an isolated thing that you do. Meditation is a lifestyle.
Yes,
And
like
I
it's a
think
safe
that's where
thing.
people miss the mark, as this is an activity I do to get something. Oh gosh, and that brings me to I was watching a an old documentary on ayahuasca use, and they had talked to a few people that were participating in this retreat that was in Peru. And people talked about what they had hoped to gain. And there was this one person who wanted to see how she could use, and I underline that word, use ayahuasca in her practice. She was a holistic healer, and she wanted to see how she could translate ayahuasca use into her practice. And yes, her intention was, to help people, but that was surfacey. When she was actually going through the rituals, she realized at the end of the documentary that it had nothing to do with what she went down there for.
Mm.
Nothing. It had all to do with her, all to do with her letting go of some stuff that didn't serve her, connecting more to who she is. And that is what meditation is. It's not a tool. If you use it as a tool, it'll only serve you but so far. If you use it as a way, or you engage it in a way as for self-discovery, for self-illumination, for access, a ready access to your inner divine, if you approach it from that point of view or things similar to that, you will have a totally different experience. I won't say outcome because it's not a destination, it's a journey.
I love that.
So if you are one that is looking to begin a meditation practice, there are a ton of apps, but since I'm a human being, I'm gonna tell you to go to a human person and work with them either online or in person because they're working with you in the moment. They're not an app that was just um, recorded for the general population. When you work with a practitioner, they are working with you. They are addressing your day to day, moment to moment concerns, fears, all of that. So I always recommend going to a human being because you're a human being.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, it totally is a lifestyle, and it's our intention behind what we want out of it, but also how much we're willing to show up. And so
Mm,
I love everything that you shared. You give really simple, down to earth examples and stories, and it really is a journey. Like it truly is. It's not about getting anywhere. And
right.
like for the longest time, Jackie, I questioned my life purpose. I like in
Mm,
early mid 20s, I was like, why am I here? I want to be here
mm,
for a really important reason, but I kept
mhm,
asking about it as if it was outside of me. And then I came to the realization through also meditating and bringing that more into my lifestyle that my purpose is everything I'm doing in each and every
mhm,
present moment, no matter what I'm doing. Like that's what my purpose is. It's to be
yeah.
as present as I can with myself and then those around me, because then I'm embodying and leading by example.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we make that time for ourselves and fill up our cups. And it's so interesting because I really enjoyed my meditation practice, especially pre-mama. And I had really beautiful, deep, profound moments of just like awakening and, little bits and pieces of it because it truly is a journey. It's like if we
Yeah.
just awaken, we probably wouldn't be in these bodies anymore. But I've
Yeah. I
had
mean, we're
little,
in a state of becoming. We are in
exactly.
a state of becoming. It is a constant, it is a continuum. There,
Absolutely, always. But you reminded me because like I've really thought about this and contemplated this since becoming a mom. I've always said, "Oh, I don't have time for myself anymore. I don't have time for my meditation practice or my yoga." But Nathaniel also always reminded me, "Why don't you meditate while nursing Luciana? Or why don't you just
yes.
meditate?" And in my mind, I was like, "But I need to be on my own in my own space." And it's this idea that I had of like I
Mhm.
can't do it while I'm with her. And I'm awakening to these new ideas and these truths, like being a mom and this new version of myself that I literally can meditate no matter where I am, no matter who I'm
Mhm.
with. That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
And what's so beautiful is when we can tap in deeper into the core of our beingness, like these beautiful inspirations will come through. I'd love if
Mhm.
you could share some of the benefits of if somebody were really to like, adopt this as a lifestyle, what could they experience and what can come out of it?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you'll hear your inner divine. There ain't nothing better than that. Because you will get insights, you'll get downloads that you won't question.
Hmm.
We all get them, but we question them. We go,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
sure. Or you share it with a friend and they're like, oh, that's balderdash. That's stupid or you know and you're doubting yourself and that so
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things about meditating or having a meditation practice or a being present practice because you will find that things that are again that word simple will give you such immense joy. Like my partner and I can sit on a bench looking at the same body of water for hours, not say a word, and be just as happy with each other and with ourselves. So,
Mm.
meditating, or as I say, the practice of being present, you will not have to have a near-death experience to appreciate your life. You will see, you will become more grateful, you will become more appreciative. If someone lets you go ahead on a line, that's a gift. You won't necessarily see a gift as having to be in a box. You will be more in tune with the way that abundance flows. It's not just a paycheck, it is totality. Abundance is totality. So
Yeah.
your mindset will shift where there are things that you might have complained about, things that might have annoyed you that don't anymore. Or if they do, they don't annoy you for as long. If you are having pain, physical pain, it will help you navigate through that pain faster, find solutions faster. Maybe if you're looking for a doctor, help you find the doctor that's right for you, the doctor that will get what you're saying and not order a bunch of tests, but order the tests that will actually figure out what's wrong with you. Because it'll help you be more in the flow and
Hmm.
synchronicity with life
Yes.
and where you actually enjoy your life as opposed to seeing everything as a problem. It shifts how you see yourself, how you see the world. Those are some of
Totally.
the many benefits you can receive along the way because again, as we've talked, it's a practice, it's a
Hmm.
process. So it's not going to be necessarily immediately as soon as you start, but you may actually feel lighter.
Hmm.
That might be one of the immediate benefits of just feeling like the world is not crashing down on you and we get bogged down with world events and what's happening in the politics and the cruelty we get uh caught up in that and when you are being able to see that your life there's what's going on and then there's your life and when you are connecting more with your life, where you are finding more things that give you joy, more things that allow peace and tranquility and satisfaction and your passion and all of that, you will mesh more with those things. And if you don't know what they are, you'll begin to be able to identify what they are because you'll be able to hear what this is saying to you without the distractions of what society says, of what your friends say, of what your mama says, or what your cousin says, or you'll hear what they said. And you may even ask their opinion, but then you'll go, yeah, okay, thank you.
So beautifully said. Oh, I love all of it. And what a plethora of like, wide range of benefits that are to come, you know? It's really exciting. And
Yeah.
may I add, also you will be expecting miracles in your life because you know that all of this is miracles, you know?
Yes.
We are
Yes.
walking miracles. And when we can just
Mhm.
flow and, you know, be with what life is, you know, giving us, we realize it's really us giving us it. Like everything we're
Mhm.
going through is us giving us this beautiful experience. Like we are God living in these bodies, but at the same
Yes.
time, we are
Yes.
choosing all of it. And, you
Yes.
know, we can trust more, you know, all of our actions, all of our thoughts. We realize that we are creating in every moment and we get to choose what we focus on, right? This is the
Right.
big shift, right? I know that your previous episode with Nathaniel, I believe it was what was the name of it? Our superpower is the thoughts we think.
Yeah.
And it truly
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah.
Because it all starts up here. And then when we can start to question, hey, what is really going on up here?
Hmm.
And is it true? And
And
do I,
yes.
yeah, and do
And
I
why
wish
am
to
I
change
thinking
it?
that? Why
Yeah,
am I
exactly.
choosing to think of that? I mean, I had a horrible childhood. I mean, God, Lord, there were, there was abuse, there was poverty, there was, my mom died when I was 9. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened in my life, in my early life. My father was cruel. I could tell you stories upon stories upon stories of what my younger self navigated.
Mhm.
But when I began to go, okay, these are things I experienced. They're not me. These are
Mm,
things I experienced. And what have I learned from it? I have learned that I am responsible for the things I think, for my perception, for my perspective. That's all me. That's not daddy. That's not stepmom. That's not any of them. I can think what I want,
mm.
including forgive them. So
Love
you,
it.
and because then you go, okay, what was happening in daddy's time? What was happening to daddy? What was his childhood like? What was his mentality? Why was he an alcoholic? When I started to look at all of that, all I could do was have compassion for this man.
Right.
Um Now, granted, I'm not just going to play a violin here. There are times that I'm pissed off at him. But and not so much now. But there were times that I was really pissed at him. But then when I started to think, oh God, look at what he went through.
Mhm.
And so that shaped him. That shaped how he went about in the world. You get a better understanding of why people do what they do. And it's not necessarily personal. What he
Never
did was
is.
not necessarily personal. Yeah, it hurt. I felt it. I received it. But he wasn't necessarily doing it to me. This was a very unhappy, angry individual. So he scorched earth. Where he just so if you were there, you got scorched too. And so it takes the victim
Yes.
out of the equation. And that's why I say your thoughts are your superpower, because you can look at the situation as painful as it was, and painful as it is because it's still living in you. And if you choose to become the victim of it and say, I'm the victim and these are traumas that I carry, because I notice that's a big thing now. And I'm like, people, stop with the trauma. Yes, it was traumatic, but it is something that you can learn from. It is something that you can elevate from. It is something, depending on how you look at it. That's
Exactly.
why I'm really, and again, it's a personal thing, but I'm really leery about how now the buzzword is trauma for everybody, because it becomes something that people can sit in and something that people can use as justification for why their life is the way it is. And your life is the way it is because of the thoughts you choose and the way you look at life and the things that you, as you said, expect. And that's why your life is the way it is. It's not because of your trauma. It's because of how you've allowed the trauma you have experienced to dictate your choices and your feelings.
Yeah, well said. So well said. And thank you for sharing that story. We can be a victim, and if we choose to be, we will experience that for the rest of our lives. But we
Over
also
and
can
over and over.
shift in any moment that we're ready. Even if we're not ready, but we want to try, go for it because, you will succeed, as long as you keep moving forward. Failure is inevitable. You keep going and you realize, oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought.
Yes.
I would love if you could share, because you spoke about if people are interested, to try, more meditation and whatnot to connect with an actual human being. So I'd love to share more about you and the work that you're creating. If people could expect, to try some of the tools that you've created. And I know you've done some meditation music and different mantras and model visions. Do you want to share a little bit of how they can connect with your work?
Okay. Well, everything is on my website. That's Hub Central, Jackie Bird Spiritual Wellness.com, and I spell it JACQUIE, Bird Chirp Chirp, spiritualwellness.com. Everything is there. I have uh my tools, my music. I have guided meditation. I offer a custom guided meditation, so I can make a audio track for you. If you give me some information about what you are working with and working through, I can be booked online for a private session. If you're in the New York City area, you can come to my studio. But I have, my social media is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So, and it's all Jackie Bird Spiritual Wellness. And I do videos about ways to make some life changes. And again, it's always simple. It's always simplistic. It's just never that complicated. The stuff that I offer. I have a book. I almost forgot about my book. 28 Daily Thoughts and Mantras for Mindfulness, Keys for Stress Relief and Personal Growth. I've written it like a workbook. There is a place where you can write. I present a thought for the day with a photograph. And if that's all you have time to do, you look at the thought, you look at the picture, and as you look at the picture, you don't just go, oh, that's a picture, that's a nice picture. You actually immerse yourself in the picture. You see yourself there. You
Mm.
imagine that maybe you took the photograph or you were sitting, if it's by the water and you're sitting there, and then you take that with you throughout your day. That imagery, those words. If you have more time, I delve more deeply into the theme. I break everything down by day and I go more deeply into the theme that I've presented. And then I may have, depending on what I wrote, I may have a guided meditation at the end of that segment, or I may have action steps, suggestions, some of which I've made in this sitting of things that you can do to become more mindful, to become more present, and to expand your personal growth. So that's basically uh, my passion
Mm.
is to assist people in becoming more aware of themselves, in their bodies, in how they roll, how they react to people. And as I said, everything's on my website.
Which I will have linked also under this video. So if you're watching it, go ahead, go on over, dive into Jackie's work. I'm feeling intrigued about the 28-day book that you've created. It seems very awesome. And
Thank you. Oh,
yeah,
it's also an ebook. I keep forgetting to say that. It's a
okay, so they
physical
can
book and
download
it's an
it.
ebook.
Oh, it's
Yes,
both. Okay,
yes.
awesome. Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, that sounds very interesting. Yeah, this has been such a great conversation, Jackie. Thanks for all the tidbits and pieces of wisdom that you've shared with us and our listeners. If you could leave everyone, with one mantra or one thought or inspiration or energetic imprints, what would you say?
Immerse yourself in your life. Immerse yourself in the joy of being here. And I
Mm.
got a coughing attack coming. Oh gosh, excuse
No
me.
worries, no worries.
That's been happening. Oh, I've had these coughing attacks. But excuse me, my goodness.
Please don't
Immerse
apologize.
yourself in the joy of living. Identify more things that are joyful, that don't cost any money, that you can do every day. And it will open your world. It will be like touching yourself.
Mm. That's so beautiful. Thank you. So simple, but such a profound truth. And you may be surprised what you find when you begin to do that more on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else, Jackie, that you'd like to add before we sign off here today?
Oh no, I thank you. It's always an honor and a privilege to have an opportunity to share my experience, what I've learned. It's always a beautiful opportunity, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Likewise, the honor is ours, sharing your story and your beautiful presence and, all the gifts that you brought to the conversation today. You really remind us that mindfulness is not a task or a destination, but it truly is about the journey. And it starts with, every moment by moment, breath by breath, and thought by thought, and just being more aware and the intention behind that as well. So for everyone who's listening, if you'd like to explore Jackie's work, once again, the guided meditations, the sound healing work, the 28 daily thoughts and mantras for mindfulness can all be found on her website. I'll have all her socials as well linked in the description of this video. And yeah, I'm just so grateful, Jacquie, that you shared your light with us today. Thank you so much for the beautiful service and work that you're doing in our world. I am going to invite a video of our little daughter just to say farewell to everybody, and I will see you on the other side. Thank you so much, Jacquie.
For watching.
Thank you for watching.
Say have a great day.
Have a great day.
I love you.
I love you.
See you soon.
Soon.
Hey, bye. Bye, Joe. Mwah.